Real Screeners back to give you our real take on Captive State, a movie that's not your typical sci-fi flick, but it's a movie with a message that is definitely worth the movie ticket.
Captive State is directed by Rupert Wyatt, director of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This movie stars John Goodman, Vera Farmiga, Jonathan Majors, and Ashton Sanders.
So with Captive State, you have a movie that's about an alien race that invades Earth and puts the human race into submission. And then with that conflict, you have the human race divided into people who willingly succumb to the orders of the alien race and others who want to rebel.
Exactly, yeah. So it's very much about the oppressed reacting to the oppressors, right? And the two different roads that they can take, one being that they pretty much like obey and accept their fate, and the other being that they're gonna fight and ignite a fight. And this movie really centers around these rebels who basically will not stand for the invasion, will not stand for the, you know, being enslaved, and they're gonna stand up and uprise, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was really engaged immediately because they kind of framed this movie as kind of like a mystery, right?
Right, yeah, from the very beginning. Actually, the opening sequence of this movie really was very engaging. And the aliens, you know, they are very unique. I've never seen aliens quite like it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really feel like a sci-fi movie, more of like a gritty, you know, mystery film.
Right. And that's why this isn't your typical sci-fi film and why some people might not like it. But I mean, if you understand that this movie's more about the message and about human nature, then you'll enjoy it.
And it's obviously a political statement, right? It reminded me a little bit of District 9 in that regard.
That's right, yeah.
A lot of shaky camera movement and a lot of scenes basically taking place in like cities and street alleys and you know, underground and things like that.
Right, it's definitely got that post-apocalyptic feel where, you know, certain districts have just been blown away.
Right, or completely wiped out, ghost towns, and you know, it really centers about these different characters basically trying to use each other and network to come up with a plan. And for a while, the movie kind of confuses you because you don't really know how all of these characters are connected. And that I found a little problematic because I think that what happened was I didn't feel an emotional connection to these characters.
Right, it kept jumping back and forth, so you couldn't really get behind a specific person to understand if they were the protagonist or what's going on. But eventually, like you said, it settles in.
Yeah, and with John Goodman, for example, who I think is an underrated actor, he does a really good job in this movie. Yeah, and his scenes with Vera Farmiga's character, I'm not going to say who she plays because that's part of the fun of the film. There are some nice intimate moments there between the two of them. The John Goodman character is the one that you kind of get behind first, but then there's another character played by Ashton Sanders who is probably best known for his performance in Moonlight. He's the one that I think ultimately wins viewers over, at least won me over by the end of the movie.
Yeah, and because Gabriel's involved, his brother's involved in this movie, and so it kind of runs a little bit around that relationship, but it really is all over the place. And the way it settles in is it starts to focus on the rebellion, and how they show you how they do that was masterful. I loved how they kind of pulled back on the dialogue, and they really showed you and unfolded the movie through the music, the sounds, the cinematography, the text on TV screens and newspapers.
And thank God for that, because while you feel a little bit emotionally detached from the characters, I think that the sound mixing and the musical score combined with the camera work is what really keeps you invested in the movie. I like that they don't show you the aliens all the time. I think that I appreciated those moments of suspense that are far few in between, you know, because it really pays off. But thank God for that musical score and that sound mixing, because it's so palpable and so visceral that I think that it really keeps you engaged.
So if I had to nitpick a little bit at this movie, it probably would be that in the first act I kind of thought it was over dramatic at points, and in the middle of the movie you kind of lose a key character for a large chunk of the film, which kind of contributes to your disconnect a little bit. But again, I'm just trying to balance out my critique here. I mean, I really enjoyed the movie.
I agree with that. I think that the problem with the movie is with the structure. You know, I think that the continuity has issues, and you know, it kind of feels like it's non-linear even though it's not. There were some moments that kept me very tense. There were some very suspenseful scenes in this this movie. It lacked an emotional core for me.
Right, and so we talk about a plot-driven movie versus character-driven. This is definitely plot-driven, not so much character, but it's a movie with a message, guys. Yeah. And it talks about how people will cross whatever lines they have to survive, and how oppression and desperation can, you know, obscure the lines of humanity. I mean, this is a very thoughtful movie. So as far as real ratings go for me, you definitely have to be patient with this movie. I would have liked a little bit more action. So balancing that out, I'm going to give it 4 reels.
Wow, okay. Well, I think it's been a while since we disagreed on our rating.
Well, the twist really bumped it up for me. The twist at the end.
That's exactly what I am going to disagree with you on.
Oh.
I honestly think it was that much of a twist, because for me it was more that I was confused, and then I was like, oh, this is what's going on. But it wasn't that big of a surprise for me, I guess. It's something that...
You kind of saw it coming a little bit?
It's not that I saw it coming, it's just that the payoff, I guess, or what it ended up being was not that surprising. Like, I was like, okay, that makes sense, you know? I kind of had that reaction to it.
I thought it was neat.
Yeah, I mean...
You do not see that coming.
You don't. Yeah, I can see that for sure. But I really like to get behind the characters in a film, and they really should have fleshed out those characters, especially the John Goodman character, and all of them, really. Yeah. So I'm going to give this film 3.5 reels.
I guess it really doesn't have much rewatch value, I suppose, but...
Yeah, you know.
3.5, wow, okay.
3.5, yeah.
All right. That was our quick real take on Captive State, guys. As always, follow us on social media. We're on Facebook at Real Screeners, and on Instagram we are at real.screeners.
And also, don't forget to check out the Alamo Draft House, always providing great service and great food. If you like our videos, remember to hit that subscribe and bell button, and check us out next time for some more real takes on films.
But I forgot what I was going to say.
Captive State is directed by Rupert Wyatt, director of Rise from the Planet of the Apes, Inside of the Apes of the Apes. Is it? What is the title?
Rise of the Planet.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. This movie stars John Goodman, Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore, and Rupert Grint. Captive State is directed by Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Coogler.
Captive State is directed by Rupert Wyatt.
Why does his name have to be Rupert?
Captive State is directed by Richard Miller.
That went downhill quick. So with Captive State, you have a movie that's about an alien race that invades Earth, and then
and then Ouija boards.
And then Ouija boards just pop up out of nowhere.